Hello and welcome to how to structure your SaaS organization for sustainable growth. There's a great quote that it's not the strongest species that survives, nor is it the most intelligent, but it's the ones that are most responsive to change. The challenge with most SaaS organizations today is that they're architected to behave like a production line rather than an integrated system. And the result of this old production line thinking is that many SaaS firms are operating in silos and are really slow to respond to changing customer and market dynamics. We need to rethink the organizational structure to make it more responsive by design and to really structure each function like we would a module in one of our software products with clearly defined inputs and outputs that it provides to the other modules in the organization. Think of this like we would an API call in our software products. Systems thinking is really something that helps us here. A system is a set of related components that work together in a particular environment to perform the functions that are required to achieve the system's objectives. And so when we think of each of the functions of the organization, it helps us to really think of them as nodes and to clearly define the connections between these nodes. So think of those nodes as functions of the organization, like product, marketing, etc. So the old way of structuring the organization is very linear and very much like a production line, where we define the product, we build the product, we then go to market with that product, sales closes those deals, then gets handed over to customer success. The new way is really to think about the purpose of each one of those functions in the organization and have clearly defined responsibilities as well as capabilities that talk to one another and are under the ownership of the right leaders and with as few decision makers as required in order for the system to perform. So why do we need to rethink the SaaS org structure? So thanking the folks from Winning by Design, they've really helped to promote this shift in what's happening in the market away from simply winning more deals to winning high quality deals and achieving impact for those customers. And the principle there is that recurring revenue is a result, and it's the result of delivering recurring impact to those customers, meaning we really have to choose the right customers. They have to be high quality, and we need to be able to retain them and expand them over time. So it's really shifted the thinking away from winning more deals at all costs to a more sustainable business model. We all know that we spend a lot of customer acquisition costs in order to gain our customers. And until the CAC is paid back, we don't really see the fruits of that labor in terms of profit. And so the game has really shifted towards a customer lifetime value gain. Our new objective becomes, how do we structure for landing and expanding profitably in order to maximize customer lifetime value, as well as maximize capital efficiency? And this is where a formula we came up with called go-to-market velocity really helps a lot. So on the left-hand side of go-to-market velocity is a known metric called pipeline velocity, but on the right side is something a little bit newer called success velocity. And what we've done is we've combined the two. So go-to-market velocity is really an extension of a well-understood pipeline velocity formula. The go-to-market velocity formula comes from the belief that our buyer and customer experience really needs to be in perfect alignment in order for us to win the hearts and minds of customers and for us to create those raving fans that we all want. It's for those who truly understand that there is no recurring revenue without recurring impact, and the definition of impact is constantly changing for our customers. So the old way is just to focus on pipeline velocity. Marketing and sales have had this great metric to align their teams called pipeline velocity, which is a measure of how fast your pipeline is moving through your customer acquisition funnel. The calculation includes win rate percentage, annual contract value, the number of qualified opportunities divided by your sales cycle length. The great thing about pipeline velocity is it creates visibility to the many levers at your marketing and sales team's disposal that drive new customer growth. It helps to expand your thinking beyond simply the number of qualified opportunities, a volume metric, as your only lever. This is a common mistake that growth is simply a quantity game rather than also a quality game. So by looking at pipeline velocity, it expands your marketing and sales team's collaboration to think about not only increasing opportunities, but increasing the win rate percentage, increasing annual contract value, shortening the sales cycle length. And this includes looking the win rate percentage. So that is in this quarter, the number of deals that move to a closed won definition. For example, if 10 deals moved into closed won and 30 moved into a closed loss, therefore we have a 25% win rate. The number of opportunities, this is how many deals moved into the definition of an opportunity, which is typically defined as stage 3 or later in your pipeline or your funnel. Then we have the average contract value of those closed won deals. And this doesn't include pipeline or closed loss deals, it only includes the closed won. And then we have sales cycle, which is the number of days to get those closed won deals into a closed won state. And again, does not include closed loss. So this is a really great formula because when you have all of this data, you can look at it to analyze what can we do to move the needle on these metrics. And the recommendation is to analyze them based on where the pipeline was sourced from. So where did it originally enter into our funnel? Was it a demo request? Was it an incentivized meeting? Was it an outbound call? Was it a trade show? When we break it down by the pipeline source, we can really understand what's happening, what's performing well, what's underperforming, and narrow in our focus in terms of recreating that success elsewhere in the funnel. So what's the problem with pipeline velocity? So pipeline velocity does a great job for optimizing your model or your organization for acquiring new customers, but it completely misses out on the retention and expansion of those customers. So focusing on pipeline velocity can oftentimes lead to unsustainable, unrepeatable, and unpredictable growth when looking at the full bow tie funnel. This is why we came up with the need to extend pipeline velocity to add on success velocity to create a more holistic approach. So go-to-market velocity balances and prioritizes customer expansion in balance with new customer acquisition. It ensures customer value and recurring customer impact is a core go-to-market priority. So it is a measure of not only how fast you're able to land customers, but it also measures how fast you're able to deliver impact to those customers and expand customer value through renewals, upsells, and cross-sells. Here's an example of a dashboard, which we have a pipeline velocity of 250,000 per quarter that we're pulling through our land part of the funnel. And we have a 70% success velocity rate, which means that together we have a $173,000 overall go-to-market velocity. So when you look at this, you really understand all of the components that are at your team's overall go-to-market team's disposal in order to drive revenue through the organization. So what are the components of success velocity? So we have the success rate. This is the percentage of customers who achieve your product's North Star metric. The North Star metric is the single metric that captures the core value that the product delivers to customers and, most importantly, retains them. So according to Mark Roberge, the following framework is optimal. Success equals true if P percentage of customers achieve E events within T time. Example of popular NSMs include Slacks, which is that 70% of customers send 2,000 plus team messages within the first 30 days. We have Dropboxes. 85% of customers upload one file into one folder on one device within 1 hour. And we have HubSpots. 80% of customers use 5 features of the 25 features in the platform within 60 days. We then layer on net revenue retention, which is the percentage of revenue retained from customers over a period, often looking at the trailing 12 months. And it includes the impact of churn, upsell, and cross-sell. And then the last component of success velocity is the average number of days it took for the customer to achieve the NSM. So a few concluding thoughts on success velocity. By extending pipeline velocity to include success velocity, it helps align your product, sales, marketing, and customer success teams to collaborate on reducing time to value and optimizing the full land and expand motion to maximize for customer lifetime value. It focuses your collaboration on increasing the success rate through product offers, sales process, onboarding, education, increasing net revenue retention through looking at product market fit, go-to-market fit, again, onboarding process, as well as your pricing and packaging. Then we can also look at reducing the success cycle length as well. So this leads us to how do we structure the overall SaaS organization to clearly solve for go-to-market velocity? Because we need to then define what is the core function that the core purpose that each function in the organization is serving, and making sure that each of those functions is clearly integrated and accountable for their various metrics. So the traditional way to structure your organization is to have about 8 leaders. And the challenge with this structure is that it's really architected for customer acquisition, and it's not really integrated for feedback to flow from those various functions and for the decisions to be centered in as few people as possible. So the new way is to structure to solve for customer lifetime value and capital efficiency. And we do this by organizing into 3 organizations that are clearly integrated. So first, we have the Grow Profitably organization, the Scaling with Quality organization, and the Growth Operations organization. So we have the CEO and VP of Grow Profitably, which includes the offer team. So think of this as the new growth team, and they're solving for capital efficiency, your business equation, the number of qualified opportunities, and are really responsible for the overall go-to-market velocity formula itself. So think of this as the most leveraged team in the organization. Then we have the new sales team, which are solving for trust in your market and in your customers, and really focused on win rate percentage, annual contract value, and the sales cycle length. Then you have the second VP, who's focused on scaling with quality. And this includes 2 sub-teams, the mechanism team and the change team, again, clearly solving for defined metrics of the go-to-market velocity formula. The last organization is the VP of Growth Ops, and really think of this as an enablement team that's there to help all of the other teams to succeed. They're responsible for things like business and finance operations, people operations, IT, and business intelligence. In conclusion, what we end up with is a decrease from 8 leaders to 3 leaders with clear alignment and accountability for solving each component of go-to-market velocity. It's really important to note that in order to achieve the benefits of this model, you really don't need to overhaul the reporting structure of your entire organization. This model is meant to be very illustrative and to help us all to start to break down the silos in our thinking in order to group the right people into the right teams and align them towards clear objectives, and really to start breaking down some of the preconceived notions of what it takes to be successful in terms of structuring a SaaS organization. So with that, I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to post any questions or comments into the chat. Thank you so much.